ASHIKA Island is finally here in Warzone 2, and I want to give you guys the top 5 best loadouts to use because basically everything has changed. But I want to give you guys things that you guys will be able to do incredibly well in. You're not going to be moving slow, you're going to be flying around the map and absolutely shredding. So the new meta is officially the TAC 56 and MP5 after the update, but I have plenty of other weapons to compensate for weapons that you may not be able to use anymore, like the RPK, Fennec, etc. So let's get started. So the TAC 56 is an absolute monster with this new update, and it'll be amazing for ASHIKA Island for you guys. Now, whether you want to use an optic or not, this is a incredible build that you guys don't really need an optic, but the option's already there. So you can either take off high velocity to put on an optic or FSS combat grip to put on an optic, but this by itself is still amazing with just the Iron Star. We're starting out the Harbinger D20, and this increases sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and aim walking speed. The weight is set to 0.54 ounces and the length is set to 0.81 inches. This increases the bullet velocity and recoil smoothness. I put on the 17.5 Tundra Pro barrel. This helps with the damage range, hip fire accuracy, and bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed and hip recoil control. Now, I tuned the damage range to maxed out, and the recoil steadiness is increased to 0.35 inches while pounds. I also put on the FSS combat grip to increase the recoil control at the cost of aiming stability. Now I increased the aiming out stability of 0.35 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.55 ounces. Put on the 60 round mag, but 40 is completely enough if you guys want to have more movement, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed. This is just to have as many bullets as possible, plus it doesn't really hinder it that much. I put on the 5.56 high velocity ammunition to increase the bullet velocity at the cost of damage range, so I just increased the damage range by 0.61 Gs and maxed out the bullet velocity. Now the end product is absolutely beautiful. Considering this didn't get nerfed, this thing is still absolutely incredible with zero recoil. This is a weapon that you're definitely going to use in your arsenal just because of how incredible it is, especially if you have a good shot. If you're not missing, you can hit short, medium, and long range with no issue. This is a weapon that I highly recommend. Like I said, this is definitely going to be in the meta, and this is going to be something you're going to see enemies use way more. The RPK has essentially been destroyed, so if you want something better than the RPK, this is definitely your weapon. Now, next we're moving on to the MP5. The MP5 is definitely a freak of nature now, and I have a fantastic build for anybody that wants to use it. So the MP5, which is the Lachmann Sub, is such a dangerous weapon, close, medium, and long range. Long range is a little more difficult, but this is a fantastic build overall. We're going to start out with the X10 RR40. This helps with sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness at the cost of aim down sight speed and aiming stability. I increased the bullet velocity by 0.39 inches and the recoil smoothness by 0.23 ounces. After that, I didn't really see a point to increase it anymore. This is just the best play to have it. I put on the F-TAC M Sub 12 inch for the bullet velocity, damage range, recoil smoothness, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, movement speed, hip recoil control, and I increased the damage range, not by much actually, as you see. I increased it by 0.06 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.06 pounds. I put on the Mirror Recoil 56 factory stock, and this increases the aiming stability and recoil control and sprint speed at the cost of aim walking speed, aim down sight speed, and crouch movement speed. I increased the aim walking speed by negative 1.08 inches, and I didn't change the weight at all. I then moved on to the Lachmann TCG10. This increases the recoil control at the cost of aiming stability. So I increased the sprint to fire speed by negative 0.16 inches and decreased the weight by negative 0.26 ounces to increase the aim down sight speed. I put on a 40 round mag. If you want to use 50, it's completely up to you, but I don't really think it's necessary. Plus, you're going to be moving even slower reload and all that, so I don't know if it's really worth it. I think the 40 is more than enough, and if you think 30 is enough, then just throw on an underbarrel. Or anything else like a laser is completely up to you, plus you can actually tune them now. But just show you guys the outcome. The MP5 is absolutely incredible, melts incredibly fast, and has very easy recoil control patterns. So the only downside is going to be long range. You have to be able to control the long range recoil. I mean, like I said, it's still very viable, and it's actually stronger than the Fennec now. So that's a fantastic thing. I would suggest keeping your gunfights to short to medium range, and you have to go to the long range and just pull out your AR, and you'll be better off. But these two right here are officially the meta for ASHIKA Island. But we have other things to show you guys. So because the RPK actually got nerfed, I wanted to show you guys a sleeper that did not get nerfed, and that is the RAPP H. The RAPP H is definitely going to be the meta LMG, and whether people notice it or not, this is just going to be something that's so nasty to use. Many people actually haven't been using it because they were so reliant on the RPK, and this is something that actually kills faster than it. It has been killing faster than it for a long time. It's just been going unnoticed. Maybe now they'll notice it way more, especially with the great recoil control. So we start at the Custovia DX90 for the sound suppression, bullet velocity, recoil smoothness, and recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed, aim walking speed, and aiming stability. I maxed out the bullet velocity and increased the recoil smoothness by 0.77 ounces. I put on the Romeo FT 16-inch barrel. This increases the damage range, hip fire accuracy, bullet velocity at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control. Now, I increased the damage range by 0.30 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.40 pounds. Put on the Aim Op V4, or any sight that you really want to use. Is just my personal preference. I maxed out the far distance. Put on the Lachmann TCG 10, increases the recoil control at the cost of aiming stability. I increased the sprint to fire speed by negative 0.17 inches and the aim down sight speed by negative 0.19 ounces just to give it a little bit more support. And then I put on the FTAC Ripper. This helps with aiming out stability, hip fire accuracy, and recoil stabilization at the cost of aim down sight speed and walking speed. Now, the tuning that I did for this is kind of like negligible for the length, but for the weight, I actually increased the recoil stabilization by 0.52 ounces. Just to show you guys the end product, this thing is actually insane. Check this out. It kills so fast and shoots so fast that it was just definitely something I wanted to use. It's so insane that people actually haven't noticed how useful this thing is, but maybe it is good that they haven't seen it yet. But you, the viewer, that's actually watching this now, you guys see how fast this actually kills, and it's actually very easy to use, even long range. So make sure you guys have this loadout on there just because you guys are going to absolutely tear with it, and it's definitely going to be meta for ASHIKA Island. Now, I wanted to throw the Fennec on there even though it got nerfed just because I know some people still love the Fennec and still want to be able to use it, so I wanted to give you guys a great build for it. So this build right here is going to negate pretty much the majority of the nerfs that actually took place on it. It's going to give you guys plenty of damage. In fact, if you want to give it even more damage, you can just take off the laser and throw on a muzzle. The muzzle could be like the X10 or something along those lines if you want to give it even more damage. But in my opinion, this build right here is more than enough. So I put on the ZLR 16.5 ignition barrel. So damage range, bullet velocity, hip fire accuracy, and recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed, hip recoil control, and movement speed. I increased the damage range by 0.25 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.50 pounds. I put on the VLK laser, that's just aim down sight speed, sprint to fire, like stuff like that. So, I mean, you don't really need to mess with that. As you guys see, aim and stability, the laser is visible in ADS. If you don't want that, you can just put on the 1MW laser. Well, yeah, 1MW quickfire laser, just for the aim down sight speed with no cons. Put on the Agile Assault 7 stock for sprint speed, aim walking speed, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed at the cost of aiming stability and recoil control. So I maxed out the aiming out stability and decreased the weight by negative 2.06 ounces for the aim down sight speed. Put on the Fennec rubber grip to increase the sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed at the cost of recoil control. And I increased the recoil steadiness by 0.42 ounces. Last but not least, I have the Fennec Mag 45. And just show you guys the end product. This thing is actually still incredible. I would recommend trying to avoid the long range gunfights just because you're still going to be able to get the kills, but with the nerf, it's just going to be a little bit harder. So try to keep it to short to mid range, and long range gunfights, just try to avoid them. Now, last but not least, what I really wanted to show you guys is the M4. The M4 is something that people aren't even noticing right now. It's actually such an amazing gun, and nobody just gives it the time of day. So I wanted to give you guys a version with the sight, and I wanted to give you guys a version without the sight. So this is the version with the sight. It's the high tower 20-inch barrel. This helps with bullet velocity, damage range, recoil control, and hip fire accuracy at the cost of aim down sight speed, movement speed, and hip recoil control. Now, I increased the damage range by 0.21 inches and the recoil steadiness by 0.31 pounds. Put on the Aim Op V4. I maxed out the far distance. Put on the Demo Precision Elite Factory. It increases the aiming stability and recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed, crouch movement speed, aim walking speed, and sprint speed. I increased the aiming out stability by 1.08 inches, and I didn't change the weight. Put on the X10 grip. It helps with sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed at the cost of recoil control. I increased the sprint to fire speed by negative 0.10 inches and increased the weight by 0.23 ounces for recoil steadiness. Put on a 45 round mag and just show you guys the product. Absolutely incredible. Melts incredibly fast. Only downside is long range. It can be a little tough if you can't control the recoil. That's only if you can't control it. Now, I have another build for this, like I said, and this is basically just the regular best M4 with an iron sight. So all I did is really add the Slager Peck box. So I increased the aim down sight speed. So it's really preference if you guys want to use the iron sight or not. If you don't want to use the iron sight, completely up to you. The iron sight is very good to use, in my opinion. Some people just feel a little more comfortable with an optic. So if you want an optic, if you want to feel comfortable, then feel free to use an optic. But this is the top 5 best loadouts for ASHIKA Island Warzone 2.